So Nintendo revealed the details for the Switch 1 games getting free Switch 2 patches that give them enhancements and new features. Generally, what these patches will contain are improvements to visual fidelity, frame rate boosts, HDR support, and more for these games. We're, of course, getting updates to notable titles such as Super Mario Odyssey, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and ARMS. See, that's why you're seeing it on screen right now. Anyway, for this video, I'm going to talk about 10 Switch 1 games that I'd personally like to see get a free update. These are all Nintendo published titles, so I'd expect them to get updates for the Switch 2 eventually. These are also games that I personally own and have played, so you may not see your favorite Nintendo published game here, just as an FYI. So if you have any suggestions for other Switch games that need the Switch 2 update treatment, leave it in the comments. Let's kick things off with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So, this game, it seems unnecessary to even do this since Switch 2 is launching with Mario Kart World. That being said, I think this game could use a few small changes. I mean, of course, a resolution boost, HDR support would be nice. I mean, it seems kind of superfluous to a game that already looks pretty great on its own. But yeah, I guess considering the fact that it will also be playable on Switch 2 with the new Mario Karts, like you may as well touch up the old one, yeah, even more than it already has been, I guess. But I would say one major thing that they could potentially do, because, you know, I showed ARMS earlier, and that game is actually getting updated with a boost in performance to, like, the local play, specifically when you're doing, like, 3 to 4 players. So that's what I would be interested in seeing if they do that for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where, like, if you're playing locally up to 3 to 4 players, maybe the game runs in 60 instead of 30 frames. I think that'd be pretty interesting to see. I think that would be, like, the first time in series history, because Mario Kart World, I've seen a bit of footage from, like, a preview event, and it's still running in 30 and 4 players. So maybe Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on Switch 2 could run in 60 while in 3 to 4 player local play. It'd be the first game in the series to do it. I think it'd be pretty interesting. Pokken Tournament Deluxe is a pretty fun fighting game. I haven't played it in a while, but I know that the online presence is still there. Like, I believe you could still get matches pretty quickly, at least just judging by, like, the replay channel that's like on the game. Like, I can see that people, like, are still playing matches online with this. Now, with that being said, you know, the game, it looks kind of fuzzy, you know? Got some low-res textures and all. I think a nice resolution boost, HDR, that would look great on this. Another thing that this game has I don't like is the input lag. Like, the game does have some kicked-in input delay. I guess, you know, so you get used to how the online feels. I guess it'd be nice to have that be reduced, but that would probably require this becoming a Switch 2 edition, so you probably have to pay like an extra $10 to then run it at like 120 Hz or something. I don't know. It was just something I was maybe considering, like, oh, maybe they could reduce the input delay, but yeah, but then at the same time, that would kind of split the whole player base, which is like, it's something to consider when you do an update like this. Like, you'd be giving Switch 2 players the advantage over the Switch 1 players, and it just wouldn't fly, right? Just consider it like it's like a pipe dream, really. But, I'm not sure how many people would be buying a Switch 2 to play Pokken Tournament Deluxe and then play online with other Switch 2 players, whereas, you know, the game already has kind of a plentiful player pool with a Switch, with Switch 1 alone. But yeah, that's kind of about it. The main thing is just like visual boosting. The game already runs in 60 frames, so yeah, definitely resolution boost. HDR would look pretty nice. So next we have Bayonetta 2. Although I'm kind of, I think I'm also going to say that also Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 3 should also get these these enhancements being the resolution boost, the HDR support, and also a frame rate boost. Now, Bayonetta, I guess just speaking about Bayonetta 2 right here, it does aim for 60 frames per second, but it's not perfect. It does drop frames, especially when things get really intense. Like this is an action game where there's like a lot of enemies and a lot of visual noise going on. Like it definitely takes a hit in performance. I would almost imagine that because it's like an unlocked frame rate that perhaps just merely being on the Switch 2 hardware, like the performance will already get boosted, but I mean, if the game has to get patched for so the game actually runs at a locked 60 frames per second, then sure, that would be great. But I mean, even by itself, the game does run mostly well, so yeah, I guess we'll see. So next, I'm talking about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity here, but I'm also throwing Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition here as like a sort of a companion, much like with the Bayonetta section. So yeah, when it comes to Switch games, like kind of I know this was developed by Koei Tecmo Games, but it's also a Zelda game. Like I kind of consider it a Nintendo game anyway, but yeah, when it comes to Switch games that are pretty good but don't run that well, this is like the first one that comes to mind. This game is a 30 FPS quote-unquote game. It dips all the time, man. All the frickin' time. Like this game can go into the 10s in like the most I'd say like the most intense end game areas. It dips so much, but even in this first area, there's like performance issues. It hitches so much. I beat this game too, man. Like it is a good game, but man, does it not run well. Oh boy. Yeah, so the usual resolution boost, HDR support would be nice too, but it needs that frame rate boost, man. This game is oh shoot. I'd almost consider this like in the tier of like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in terms of like performance. The Switch one is like hanging on to dear life, trying to render all these enemies and the tall grass and all that, and the explosions. There's also these like Divine Beast sections that don't run too well. They're like on rail things. Yeah, it's pretty not great, I guess. And to just briefly talk about Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, so that game actually runs better. I think it is aiming for 60 frames. I think the frame rate appears to be unlocked, at least from like the recent time I just spent with it trying to get footage for this video. Yeah, it just needs like a frame rate boost, really. Frame rate, resolution. I'm not sure if it would get HDR, but yeah, it just needs a little touch up. That game overall runs better. But Age of Calamity is the one I got the issues with, so hopefully... so Nintendo is coming out with a new Hyrule Warriors game, Age of Imprisonment. Now, the footage that they showed initially did not run in 60 frames, so I'm a little skeptical. But, yeah, hopefully we get some good performance modes for these games. For Super Mario Maker 2, so New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is getting a resolution boost, so I would just say apply that same thing with this game, despite the fact that, you know, most of the time you're probably looking at like the pixel graphics, but there are also the New Super Mario Bros. U and 3D World visual styles, so a resolution boost would be nice. But the main thing, the very main thing that this game needs is mouse support, because trying to use the stage builder with like a Pro Controller, it is kind of clunky. It's not that fun to control. I'm capturing footage right here of me trying to make a stage, and it's so awkward to like the D-pad like brings up like the thing that could warp you to like the start of the stage or the goal. And I mean, also, like, the D-pad is used to, like, select the icons all over the place, but then you gotta use the control stick to use the pointer. It just... I don't know. Also, you can't do, like, the thing where you you use the finger pointer like on the touch screen. Like on the touch screen, you can like use the finger pointer and then like shake an item to turn it into like another or something like that. That's kind of I'm not sure how to do that on controller. I try to do it, but yeah, that just kind of goes to show how clunky that user interface is with a Pro Controller. A mouse, on the other hand, that would be fantastic. That would... I almost think that Nintendo may save mouse functionality for a Super Mario Maker 3, potentially, but if they want to update Mario Maker 2, which is already a perfectly fine game with mouse controls, yeah, I'd be pretty happy. In a similar vein to Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, believe it or not, this is a Nintendo-published title. This was developed by, I believe, Ninja Theory, and yeah, this is a pretty good game. I'm a fan of like the first Ultimate Alliance game. Like I actually played that multiple times. Never really played the second game, but this third game's pretty good. I like the art style. The roster is amazing. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of DLC I did not buy because I was kind of done with the game. But man, if this game got performance boost, resolution boost, definitely frame rate boost, this game is pretty much like 30 FPS or lower on or I think it's unlocked. I can't tell, but I think it is like 30 frames or lower on the Switch One. So it'd be really nice to have these enhancements for Ultimate Alliance 3. That would definitely change the game up, for sure. I don't know how many of y'all even remember this game. This is Astral Chain, made by Platinum Games, only for the Switch. Now, as you can see here, like, this game has an art style. Like, it actually looks great. It looks like a freaking PS4 game, you know? It's actually, it is quite stunning, but yeah. It is unfortunately a 30 FPS action game, like character action game. Would definitely love a frame rate boost, and of course the obvious resolution and HDR. I think a similar theming with these Switch games is that they also just lack anti-aliasing. Like, you can see aliasing like on the edges of objects all over the place with these kind of games, and it's like, man, it'd just be nice if we had some anti-aliasing as well. You know, that would especially help like a game like this. But yeah, Astral Chain, it's got a really unique combat system where you summon like a chimera, I think it's called, and like it like fights alongside with you, and you're like chaining your actions together. It was a lot to get used to. I did beat this game, but it's been years since I touched it. I've only touched it again for this video. So yeah, use performance and resolution boosts, HDR support maybe. That would change this game up quite a lot, I'd say. I'm gonna be real, like, I was thinking about this a lot, and I'm not sure if Luigi's Mansion 3 even needs a lot of enhancements. So the game looks great. It's like one of the nicest looking Switch games that's ever been released. Like, the graphical fidelity is like it feels like it's on another level, right? But you know, it is still a 30 FPS game. Would be nice to, you know, bump it up to 60. HDR would be amazing, like actually amazing on this game, just because of how much emphasis there is on, you know, the quality of textures and all these environments, the lighting, like, yeah, just, it'd be crazy if this was like a 4K 60 FPS game with HDR. That would be nuts. You know, the game also has like the skyscraper mode where it's like where like the action is a bit more fast paced because you're constantly walking in and out of rooms, catching ghosts and all that. You know, would love for that to run 60. That would be great. But I mean, if Luigi's Mansion 3 never got the performance updates, then it'd still be a fine game as is. I was debating, like, I was like asking myself, like, does Luigi's Mansion 3 really need this stuff? But I guess as of right now, all I can think of is it'd be nice. I'm sure that Mercury Steam had to cut back on a lot of things to optimize the performance of Metroid Dread to actually make it run 60 frames per second. But with Switch 2, it would be incredible to see this game with like higher resolution, anti-aliasing, HDR. It doesn't really get a frame rate boost. Maybe it hitches. I think the game does hitch in a few areas, but it is mostly a 60 FPS experience. But it's like, if we could just have that 60 FPS experience with the higher res, the HDR, you know, maybe some higher resolution textures and all that. Did I say anti-aliasing? I did. I probably did. But you guys get the point. A lot of this is, honestly, what I'm saying is like, it's like playing a record, right? Like pretty much for these games, I do want higher resolution, better frame rate, HDR maybe, I guess wherever applicable. Yeah. Anyway, we got one more game to talk about. Y'all come on, y'all know what it is. Come on. And finally, we have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Yes, so again, the usual resolution boost. I believe Smash Ultimate runs at like a dynamic 1080p. I could be wrong. Not sure. HDR support would be nice. I'm not sure if they would do that for this game in particular. And then as for the frame rate boost, so as you're seeing here, I'm actually just running some 8-player AI matches. In certain stages, the frame rate does dip. Like for the most part, Smash Ultimate handles the 8-player matches well enough, but yeah, there are some frame dips when it comes to 8-player Smash, because it's like the most chaotic thing. And I think even then, I think Fountain of Dreams in particular might still have frame rate issues even with 1v1. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, Smash Ultimate just needs like a slight performance boost. Unfortunately, I don't think they would do anything about the netcode, because then that would completely change how the game functions. And I mean, basically, Smash Ultimate, I don't even think they do a free patch for it. I think they would actually turn it into a Nintendo Switch 2 edition game, because of course they would. But then that would also separate the player. But it's much like what I said with Pokken Tournament Deluxe. If they were to release a Switch 2 edition of Smash Ultimate and it had better netcode and like less input delay, it would be a different game. So yeah, it would separate the player base, and then there'd be all sorts of chaos with like locals and junk. It just, you know, but you know, it's pipe dream stuff. It'd be nice. And then one other thing is mouse support, and this is just for Stage Builder. I just think that'd be neat, right? Much like with Mario Maker 2, just, you know, let's use the mouse to draw stages. It would be nice, you know, because otherwise you're using a controller, or you gotta like undock the Switch 2 and you know, just like draw on it with your finger, or maybe you got like a stylus for a capacitive touchscreen. Yeah. But that's about it, really. I'm not sure if they do like extra characters for a Switch 2 edition. Beats me, man. There's been a lot of speculation as to what they would do with Smash Ultimate on Switch 2, or just a new Smash in general, and that's a whole other rabbit hole to just go down, and I'm not doing that today. Anyway, that'll do it for this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as I'll be posting more content on Nintendo Switch 2 and other gaming stuff. Also, feel free to become a channel member so your name can be displayed here on screen, and maybe click that video on the left, as YouTube thinks you'll like that one next.